There we go. Now I just need to share my screen. If YouTube will cooperate with this part at least.
Yeah, did you guys see the link in the announcement for the like models and stuff?
The models.
Yeah, it should have like a zip file like in the link to it.
Okay, I need that.
Yeah. Because I'll show you how to get it set up for this one, because we'll just take the two folders in there, we'll put it in the project. And share the entire screen. And I'm just going to set this up on my phone real quick so I can keep track if it randomly decides not to share anymore. Okay, so that's all of that set up. And do you have that, like, well, those folders downloaded?
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. I just don't want to be rushing you by really jumping into things.
Okay.
Nice. So I'll go ahead and get us started. So as I mentioned in the announcement, this tutorial will be like the start of like making a very basic survival game. So this like part, if I have enough time, should be covering how you can like mine objects, think like similar to like Minecraft in the sense where like a time for all your mining objects, and as long as you're like holding down your mouse for it, you get to destroy the object and get a bunch of loot afterwards. And when you can like pick up that loot. In this case, you don't immediately get it; you have to right click on it to get it. But of course, you could easily add it in where it just does it based on a collider. But those would be the basic mechanics along with like a simple inventory system. But that'll be the thing we dive into more next time for crafting. But we will have the basic part of it for this time. So I'll go ahead and create my little project. 3 tutorial. And I'll just keep it in my ordinary settings. Mine might take a little bit longer to load because Windows kind of screwed me over last night. But yeah, so this time we will at least have proper models to work with, which if you've seen my other 3D tutorials before, I usually just made meshes on the fly, which don't look as good. All right, so we are in our little scene. So to begin with, I'm actually just going to go ahead and get those files. In this case, I'm going to pull up where I had them saved in my previous project, but you'll just go to where you have your files in this case. So in mine, I believe if I go down to, okay, I'll just go to my documents. And I think it should be a template. So you should have a models and textures file, well, folder. The textures won't really have much in there. It might even just be a single thing, but it helps for like keeping track of stuff by knowing where all that stuff is, especially if you plan to use it as a template to keep going forward with. So I'll go back here. I'll go to that new one, and I'll just copy and paste those 2 folders in there. And when I go back into Godot, they should go ahead and import.
You can also drag and drop it in.
True. It depends on which method you prefer. I just prefer to go in the File Explorer itself. But you should have all of your models down here. Yes, and like rocks, sticks, a wooden sword, a tree, and I think a log. Oh, and a land thing that we're going to use for actual like terrain that we're on. Because I don't plan to do procedural generation this time. That'll be on Damien in the future. So to make sure these import right, I'm going to go ahead and open up one of them by just double clicking. And so the ones I sent you guys should have like the physics stuff already on there. But if you wanted to do that in the future, you'd go to like whatever mesh you want to give physics to. In this case, I go to like plane. That's what I use to make my little log here. And you just can like toggle on or off your physics, which will then give you options down here, including body type, which for the log and like the stick, I kept as dynamic, so they're going to be rigid bodies. And for the type, I did a simple convex for this one, since you don't need to be too complex for just like a basic log you're picking up. So it should be similar for all those other ones. But since we have our models, I'm gonna go ahead and make our first scene. This will just be the one we're gonna like use our little main game thing. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and just drag up my land. So I'm gonna drag that from models, and I'm just gonna plop it right here. But I'm gonna do a little bit of transformation on it since I realized I made it a bit too small before, and we're just gonna make that 10 times bigger, which will make sense for player models and all that. Well, player models are just gonna be a capsule this time. I did not model a player, I'm sorry for that. But we have our little land, but of course that's a little bit boring by itself. So we're also gonna go to our node 3D. Let's type in world, go to world environment. Then we're gonna go to the right side, go to environment. And are you two both caught up? Are you guys?
I missed the entire process for like uploading like the files.
Oh, that's no problem. So do you have your files?
I have them now.
Gotcha. So if you unzip them, you should end up with a textures and models folder. Do you see those in there?
Yeah.
So just copy those, go into your Godot project you just made. So if it's easier in your case, yeah, you can just drag it in there too. But once you have them, they should be imported properly since I already gave them the settings beforehand. Do you have them?
I know.
All right. And all you have to do is go into your models folder down on the bottom left. Take your yeah, you can just drag it from like here and just like put as a child of your node 3D. Yeah. So you should just have this land maps down there. But what I did is I also went to my land and I went to inspector under transform and under scale. I set my scale to 10 and they should be linked to each other. So they should be 10 all around since I want to do some amount of area for us to move around in. You got that?
Where would the scale be? I'm not familiar with that.
It's all good.
This is
Nice. And then go to your world environment. Because we're just going to set it up so there's actually like a background in our game, which can also make it so we actually have proper lighting. Sometimes it gets a little bit weird if you don't set a world environment for 3D scenes. So I went to world environment. On the right side, you have your inspector again. I'm going to click on this empty next to environment. I'm going to just create a new environment by clicking that guy. Then I'm going to click on that environment again right here to open up another menu. I'm going to go to background. Currently, it's just clear color. Let's set that to sky, which now makes it all black because there's no sky stuff set. So right below background, you should see another sky thing here. We're going to go here. And there's an empty sky. We're going to, again, select sky. I know that's weird, but this is all just so we can finally go here. Oh, wait, there. And for our sky material, we're going to choose a procedural sky material. There. So you, basically for all those menus, you chose sky, except for the last one, we go procedural sky material. And that's all because if you go there, you can go like to your sky over here, and you can like change all your colors around for like how your sky looks. So I'm just gonna make it like a little bit of like a nicer blue, and I'm just gonna make this guy more like a darker blue. There we go. Just like we have a bit better of a sky, and like it looks a bit nicer when we're actually in our game. Do you have that? Nice. And then I'm gonna scroll down to the same menu, and near the bottom you should see like fog that you can toggle on. And that's going to be a bit much to begin with. We don't want nearly that much fog. So we're just going to go down to, I believe, the density over here. And that's 0.01. We're going to set that to 0.005. So we're having it, which just helps hide the fact that our scene is so small. So that's our little basic setup for how our actual like land and like the surroundings are going to be. But we will, of course, add trees in a bit. So next thing we'll do, I'm going to go is save this guy as main game. And do you have your fog? All right, nice. So I'm going to go up to that plus for creating a new scene up near the top. And I'm going to do utter node. And similar to what I've done to make player characters in like 2D games, I'm going to do a character body 3D. And for reference, I'm just going to call that player so I can keep track of it. And then this is where my the decision to not make a model comes into play, since we're just going to give it a mesh instance 3D as a child. And if you go to your right, and in the inspector, the first thing should be an empty mesh. You'll click on empty, and we're just going to make that there should be the capsule. And by clicking on that capsule right here, I get the options to go into the radius and the height and all that. So I'm going to set the radius to 1, which makes it more of a circle, but it'll get better in a moment because we just set that guy to 5. And we get roughly a human-shaped capsule. It's not very human-like yet, but maybe someday we'll get a model. Yes, it is a bean. So, but of course, right now it would have no collider. So instead of making that ourselves, we're going to go to a mesh in this middle part, click that button, go to collision shape. We're going to keep it as a sibling, and we're not going to make it a tri-mesh. I think a simplified convex should work good enough for us, just to make sure. Yep. We're doing a simplified convex because if you do a tri-mesh, especially for capsules, I notice it gets a little bit buggy in terms of collisions. Plus, you don't need to be that perfect sometimes. So I'd say when you can like deal with, especially for like moving objects, use like a simplified convex or something similar instead of a tri-mesh. But if it's not moving, use a tri-mesh unless it glitches out your game. But that's what we need for colliders. And then before doing UI stuff, I'm going to just go ahead and just give us a basic camera for now. And I believe this needs to be up by, I'm going to go down to my transform, or you could even just move it up by using the green arrow. But I like to be exact. So I'm going to, I think 2 should be fine. And I'm going to move it by, I think, -0.5 in Z. Yep. So if you go to your transform, it should just be 2 up and -0.5 in Z. And if you got that, I'm going to go ahead and add one more child for now to the camera, which is just going to be a raycast. So raycast 3D. And we just want to make it so instead of going down, I believe we want to be -5 in the Z. So it's like 5 whatever units on forward. You guys have all that? Nice. So we're going to start doing a little bit of scripting. Player script. All right. So first we got to add a few variables, of course. Const speed equals 10.0. Jump velocity. I think that was 5.5. Or, whoops. Push force. And I did give the player the ability to like push objects around just by going up to them, so that's why we have a push force. Mine object equal null. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. We have mine progress equals 0.0. Is it? Okay, it's capitalized. Object equal null. And then we're going to set up our inventory as just a basic array real quick. And I'm just going to give that a tab so it's easier to work with. And we want a total of, I think, 9 of these like smaller arrays inside of it. Okay, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And those will be our variables. So as you can sort of see this time, the inventory is just going to be using a bunch of arrays in it. Particularly those smaller arrays are going to keep track of what the item is and the amounts that's in that slot. So it should be a relatively simple way to keep track of things. And then your speed is kind of obvious. It's how fast you move. Jump velocity, again, kind of obvious, like how fast you jump. Then push force, that's going to be used to like, make it so ordinarily in Godot, your character body, it can like handle velocity and all that, but does not actually have a force associated with it. So if you try to interact with rigid bodies, you have to code a little bit of that by hand. So that's what that push force is for. And then mine object and mine progress are going to be for actual mining stuff. And pick up object is similar for just picking up things. So with that, let's go ahead and make it so we can actually rotate our player with the just the mouse. So input, event, and then if event is input, I think it should even give you event, yeah, mouse button. Rotate vector 3 dot up. Event dot relative dot x. 2. All right. And this brief function here is going to handle rotating our player from like left to right based on the mouse. So if you want to make it so you can adjust sensitivity, then you can simply take this little like 0.00 and make that like a variable you can change, or just mess around with it if you just want to get a nice set of sensitivity. So then we're going to actually handle some basic stuff for movement. So our physics process. And let's ignore some camera stuff for now. If not is on floor. Velocity plus equal get gravity times delta. So this is a basic way to handle your gravity. It just checks if you're not on the floor, and then it adds to your velocity based on the gravity. And that gravity is going to be set in your own project settings. So I think I can find it real quick. If we go to project settings up here, and then it should be under physics, I think physics 3D, and yeah, here. So your default gravity, your default gravity vector, that's what that's referring to. So if you ever want to mess around with your gravity and have it as like one set thing that you can apply to everything, that is one way to do it. You just mess with these guys instead and just reference get gravity every time you want to use it. So from there, we're going to start actually giving us some basic movement. Input is action just pressed. And I'm going to define these events in just a moment. Oh, wait, whoops. And is on floor. Let's do velocity dot y equal jump velocity. All right, so we should actually go ahead and define our events. But of course, the first one's going to be jump. Actually, I think I'll just go ahead and do these guys and imply the events afterwards, since I forgot to note those down. I'll just figure it out after this. Let me see. I'll ignore that part for now. And all right, and I'll just give us some more movement. So let's do input direction input dot get. Let's see where. Okay, get vector. It's going to be left. And be right. Forward. Whoops. Backward. And then direction. Equal. Oh, okay. This one wants a colon equal. I forgot that for some reason. It's all good. Transform basis times vector 3. And we're going to grab our direction that we just defined. We don't need to really do anything in the y. Input y And we want that to be normalized. And then if direction x direction dot x times our speed. And since this is going to be the same thing, I'm just going to copy and paste this guy. And I'm just going to change that x to a z in both of these. And we also need a way to slow down over time. So I'm just going to grab this real quick. We're going to move toward, we're going to take our velocity dot x. We're going to move that towards 0 by our speed. And let's take that same line, take that here, same thing here. Okay, and the last bit of movement code we'll need, of course, is our move and slide. So this might be a bit different than how we've done it in some other tutorials, but we first define our vector based on our how much the player is pushing to go left, right, forward, or backwards. So that's a way to avoid, like you do in some games where if you try to go in a diagonal, it goes faster than it really should be. This sort of thing instead removes that issue because it normalizes that vector based on, well, it's just normalized. It's not going to be biased in any way. And then it's going to take that, and if there is something, it's going to use it and apply that based on the speed to your velocities. But if you're not moving, it's just going to move your velocities towards 0, sort of like a friction sort of thing. And then, of course, you need your move and slide to actually use any of that velocity code you can move. So does it all make sense? All right. So if we were to go ahead and play right now, at least your player would be able to move and they'd be able to look side to side, but that's not really what you're here for. So let's add a little bit more to this guy. First and foremost, we actually need a camera script so we can look up. Granted, you could just add it in here, but I like to give the camera its own script for this in case I want to mess with it a bit more. Camera script. And let me make sure I got this guy real quick. Yep. So this one's relatively simple. Ready. This is where I'm going to go ahead and make it so our mouse is confined to the screen. Mouse mode equal. I believe we're going to do input mouse mode captured. So that makes it so you can't see your mouse anymore and it's just stuck in the middle. And input event. And if you want for this guy, we can just go in our player script again, take this wonderful little bit of code. So we're going to use a very similar thing here, but instead of up, we're going to do left. And we're going to get rid of this minus here, and we're going to change that to Y. And with that, you'll be able to rotate up and down as well. So proper little FPS experience right there. Okay, I'll go back here so you just keep track of it. But that's all you really need on your camera, at least for this sort of stuff. So keeps your mouse stuck in the center and hidden, and it lets you rotate your camera upward and down. You got that? Yeah, that's no problem. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and save this guy as our player. And since we have him now, I'm going to go back to 3D view on our main game. So make sure you save that guy. Since I'm going to go here, and let's just plop him somewhere in here. I'll just keep him here. I'm going to put him above the terrain just in case it gets a little glitchy. And if I go to play, it should, let me go ahead and, yep, oh. Relative. Let me double check this guy real quick. Maybe I mistyped him. Event.rel. That looks right. Oh, whoops. Okay, I know why. It's because I forgot to actually have the if statement here. So you got to actually copy and paste the whole thing. There we go. So if you had that same issue, just keep the if statement. And I think that should be what my issue was. Okay, my debugger is missing out for a different reason. You double check why. Oh, I know why. It's because we actually don't have our events defined yet. And our game really hates us for that. So let's go to project settings. So project settings, input map. And let's define some things. So let's do forward, backward, left, right, jump. And I believe we want mine and we want pickup. Actually, I'm going to define instead as interact. You can keep it as pickup if you want. You'll just change out what I do. But I'm doing interact, so you can keep it for other stuff as well. And let's go ahead and do W for forward, S for backwards, A for left, D for right, space for jump. I'm going to click for mining and right click for interacting.
Have you done input maps before? Or you want me to show again how you do that?
That'd be fun.
All right.
I believe these are all the ones we need, and hopefully that fixes how much the game was getting mad at us, which was probably also why it was rotating the camera since it was too busy getting mad. But once we make sure our movement code works, we're going to move on to adding in like a tree to the game that we can mine. You have all of them? So I'll double check on my end that this guy works now. It should hopefully. All right. Yeah, that's what I did. Okay, let me see why this guy was. Ooh. It's still being angry about relative, which. Oh wait, mouse motion. Motion, and change that in the other one too. I was wondering what was on. Yeah. So in your input events, change mouse button to mouse motion. Hopefully that finally fixes that little issue. Right there we go. Okay, we can actually look around. We can move. We can jump. Yes. Yeah, I thought that looked weird. I was wondering why. I just really read that wrong for a moment there. But yeah, if you do that in both, your movement should be working correctly. Is it working for both of you?
I just figure out, so let me make sure that I transfer.
You can also like push your player upwards a bit just to make sure they spawn above it. I usually just like use the shortcut to get out of there. I can double check you. I know for Windows it's like a function 8. Let me double check for Mac. You can also just tab out of it if you need it.
How do you add the plants in the screen?
You can click and drag the.
Yeah.
You see your like all your files at the bottom. Yeah. Here's the it says command Q. You can move it a little bit above the ground. Just so it doesn't look. Yeah.
Yes. All right. But yeah, for this sort of thing, you have to actually know those shortcuts, or else it gets a bit hard without UI for a while. Anyway, so now we have like basic movements. Let's go ahead and add a tree. So we're going to do a new scene. I'm going to give it a 3D scene node, and I'm just going to call that tree. And I'm going to go down to models, and we should find our autumn tree because I noticed the leaves were too, well, fall colored to call them just ordinary tree. If I go to 3D view, should have it here. And it should come with colliders on it. I think, I don't think you see it in this guy, but it should already have colliders and be fine. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our autumn tree here, like the little node itself. And we're going to go like to node instead of inspector. Going to go to groups, and we're going to add a few here. I just want to make sure I get these right. So I'm going to call one mineable. So like you can know if this like object can be mined. And actually, I think that's really all we need groups wise. I initially set it up where we use groups to keep track of stuff data wise, but I realized that didn't make sense. I'm just going to use metadata instead. So we have that. And I believe we're going to go to our tree over here, the node that we made, and we're going to add some metadata to it. Because I think if I recall correctly, it gets kind of weird if you try and add, yeah, oh wait, no, you can add metadata to this guy. I don't know. I add metadata to like the tree node up there. I just found that easier, but you can do whichever you find easier. It just affects your code slightly. So I'm going here. I'm going to add some metadata. And I'm going to call this first one, I believe it's going to be drops. And you're going to make that guy an array. It might take a little bit to find. There you go. Array. Going to add that guy. And we're going to add another one called amounts. And you're going to click on the array thing like that's next to drops, which opens that guy up. And let's just add one for now. And in that, you're going to be now able to click on that pencil icon next to null, which lets you choose the type. We're going to do object, because that then gives us a little folder icon, or actually I'm just going to do the little arrow next to it to open. Never mind, I'm going to, oh, whoops. I'm just going to do the folder thing instead. So click on that folder. They let you select all the source stuff you already have. And in this case, okay, well, we'll change this later. For now, we're just going to make it the model. Oops. Why did it? Okay, yeah. So you should see the model down there. And that'll make it so it knows to use that model for like whatever thing it drops. And same thing, we're going to go to amounts and add another element, do the pencil. And this time, actually, that's not going to be a float. That needs to be a integer. And let's make that 1. So this is like your basic way of making it so any sort of object you add to the game, you know what's going to be dropped from it. You can have as many drops as you want and also change the amount of each. So that should be good actually for everything you're going to do for the tree itself. So let's save that. We're just going to call it tree.
Sorry, how you add stuff to the drops?
Oh, sure. So you can either increase the size by pressing the arrow, or you can just do add element. Either of those will add a new thing down here. And you'll need to do the pencil thing here to choose like what type of thing it even is.
Yeah.
And for that one, I used to choose object. So that way you can choose on your scene. Yep. So you can choose like either a scene or a model. In this case, I chose the model of the log, but eventually we'll change it over to a scene of the log so we can actually interact with it. But this will just be so we can even see that it works. And you do a similar thing for amounts, but you just simply, for like choosing the type, you choose integer.
Okay.
All right.
It's the autumn log that you do.
Yeah. All right. So you got that? So we're going to go back to our script. We're going to go back to our player. And we're going to go back to our player script. We're going to add a little bit of UI after this, since we need to actually be able to see if we're mining or not. But first, we need to even know if we're actually looking at something we can mine. So I'm going to go before we're doing all this whole like check if we're on the floor or not stuff. And I'm going to go and check on my raycast. And is it colliding? Then if it is colliding, is whatever it's colliding with. So I'm going to get that collider and make sure it's not null. The only reason I do that is because sometimes if you delete an object, it'll still tell you to be colliding, but that object's detecting is still technically null, which messes with code a bit. So if you add this little line here, it just makes sure that it doesn't try and like mess with something that's not really there anymore. All right. So that should be good for that little line there. And then next we're going to check if that object, so I'm going to actually grab it again, so that's what we're messing with. So we're going to get that collider, we're going to get its parent. Actually, we're going to go through 2 of its parents. This is particularly because of how it makes those collision bodies all automatically. if it has a static body, it's only like two parents it has to go through from whatever it collides with to like the stuff we were messing with. Is in group, and that's going to be mineable. So that whole line there is just going from whatever we're colliding with, which will be a static body, going through its parents until it gets to the one that should have the group mineable, and it just checks if it's in that group so that we know it's something you can actually mine. And in that case, our mine object is going to be, we're just going to grab that collider again. And because we have to go through a few parents, let's just go ahead and do all that now instead of do it repeatedly. I believe we want to go through 1, 2, 3 parents, because that's where we put that stuff on it. There we go. So with that, we can now keep track of what object we're looking at that we're trying to mine. So that's what that whole mine object variable is for.
If we use get parent on a top level, then will it just return itself?
I think it does just return itself. At the very least, I don't think it gives you an error or something doing that. But yeah, I think we should be fine, especially because everything that should be in this should be either a static or a rigid body. And if it's like a rigid body and it tried doing this, it just end up at the root node of the entire scene, in which case the same thing would still just tell it it's not mineable and be fine. So we should.
Yeah, like the bottom tree, it has like the main object, and then the collision under it. So we give the parent of that, but then the parent of the bottom tree itself. Would that be the seed or like?
Well, I think in this case it has to go through. So if like we open up the inherited scene, I think it's going through.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I think it's to go through like this guy, then this, and then the node that we had above it, and then it finally gets to the thing we added the metadata and stuff onto, if that makes sense. Yeah, and like if you open up the log, you'll see it's different. Well, it should be different. If I recall correctly, there should be a part in here. Okay, I guess not. Could have sworn I had something where you saw like a rigid body in there. But anyway, so that should be all good. But we need to actually add another if statement, I believe. Yep. Actually, no, we're not going to add the if statement for now. We don't need that because we're not doing pickup objects for now. So that's for all that sort detection. And let's go ahead and check if that mine object is not null. I'm going to go ahead and scroll over so you can see how many indents I'm at. Then I'm going to put pass here just so it stops giving me an error, because this is when we need to start doing some UI stuff, some very basic UI, but just enough we can actually see something. So we're going to our camera 3D. We're going to add a child node. Let's do canvas, because we're going to do a canvas layer. And then under canvas layer, let me make sure I find this so I give all this exactly. Let me double check. It's a fair bit of UI. I think that was towards the bottom, wasn't it? This stuff prints out so weird. Okay, there it is. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add, actually, we want a texture rect, and we're also gonna add in 2 labels. Eventually we'll add in an inventory. We'll have to see what we get to. So if your texture rect selected, we're gonna go to our anchors up here. So next to the anchor looking icon, you should see this little box. Actually, I think this guy, never mind. The thing to the left, we want to choose the center one. So this guy's always going to be in our center since this is going to be our cursor. And we're going to do load under texture, go to our textures. And we have a single little crosshair as our cursor. Well, not really cursor, but I guess it is just literally a crosshair. So that way we can see what we've been looking at a bit better. You guys got that? Yeah. Do you got the crosshair? I can show you real quick how to make it again.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So do you have your texture rect? because you add that as a child to your canvas layer. If it's in a different order with these labels, that's fine. It doesn't matter at this point. So if you have that guy with it selected, go to your right, and you should see texture as your first thing in inspector. So let me get rid of this guy. So it's say empty on your end. So let's click on empty and then go to load. And I went to my textures folder and I chose the crosshair out of there. All right. And from there, I'm going to figure out that's actually something I'm still missing. Oh, okay, never mind. It has all I need. So I'm going to call this guy mine label, because this is going to be our label thing that we use to know if we're mining or not. So in the text, I'm going to go down by like 3 enters. And I'm going to say like mining. And I'm just going to go down again. So this should basically be centered in like 5 lines. Yeah, I think for your anchored, you still want this to be centered. Actually, maybe you want it down by 1 more. You just want it like roughly, so like when it's centered, it's like just underneath your cursor. So however it looks good to you is fine. I think I just didn't need these extra lines down here, really. No? Oh, wait. Well, there we go. And let's make this center. So you can change your horizontal alignment to center and your vertical alignment to bottom. So you can just get this guy like to be beneath your cursor. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the visibility for it. So just click on the eye next to mine label. And this guy, I believe, is on pickup label. So same sort of thing. Pickup. And let's also make it so it's center. Let's do bottom. Let's change the anchor to center. And you should see it just beneath your cursor. And I'll just turn off visibility. So however way you get these labels to like just around your cursor, wherever you want it, is fine. We just want it somewhere around there. So like the player has some easy feedback, so like they know if they're able to pick up something or mine something. All right. So we're going to go back to our script with those done. And let me go find that guy. This is a fair bit. There it is. All right. So instead of pass, because we actually want to do something here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take that texture rect. We're going to set it self-modulate. I'm going to go color. And set this as some sort of color you want for your cursor, like as another like form of feedback. I changed mine to more of a red, so you know if you can align it. There we go. And then we're going to check if input dot is action pressed. And we're going to check if they're pressing the mine. And we're going to go ahead and grab that mine label, set it's visible equal true. Then we have that mine progress thing. We're going to add like a, oh wait, no, not 0, 0. We're going to add delta to that. Then if mine progress is greater than, we're going to get our mine object, and we're going to get its meta. Actually, I forgot we need to add this one more metadata to it, but it'll be simple. So I'm just going to give that a pass real quick because I need to go do that. So let's go back to our tree real quick. With the tree that has the metadata selected, we're going to add one more bit. Call it, I think it's mine time, and we're going to make that a float. And I think I just made it like a second. That should be fine. So just go back to your tree real quick, add that one more bit of metadata that's a float, and make it a 1. Which basically just means you want to be mining for 1 second in order to mine this object, which our code already should be able to do. Do you need help getting to that? Or you got it? All right, nice. So where I put that pass, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that guy. And we're going to make a counter. This is important since it's hard to really keep track in this little for loop thing I made of how, like what number you're on, or else things will start spawning in each other and that's not fun. at least from a programming point of view. So we're going to go ahead and get that meta drops. So this basically will loop through all the drops that we gave it, in which case it's going to be 1, but it's going to make sure to loop through everything so you can have as many drops as you want. And then for j in range 0, I believe you just want to get meta amount. Oh, wait, hang on. You want, I believe, access that dot I. Yep. Because you want to get whatever entry you're on right now. And we're going to increase that counter by 1 of our new object. We're going to get that mine object. And we're going to go ahead and get this guy. And we're going to access that at whatever entry it's at. And then we're going to instantiate that guy. And its position is going to be mine object's position plus a vector 3 of 0, 4 times our counter. So this basically makes it so whatever stuff you have in there is going to keep stacking up on each other to make sure they don't all spawn in the same space and glitch out. So it doesn't mean if you add too many drops, you're going to have like a giant stack going all the way up the screen. But I figure it's not necessarily a bad thing. And then we just need to go ahead and go to our mine object, get whatever its parent is, just in case you set this in a different way. And we're going to add it as a child. There we go. And then we're going to get out of those for loops. We're going to tell our mine object it can queue free and no longer exist. We're going to set that variable back to null. We're going to set our mine progress equal to 0. And we're going to go ahead and let me make sure. Mine label. Why is it? Oh, okay, I need to be on my player. If you're on your player scene, it can start auto typing it for you. There we go. Mine label visible false. All right, and just a few more things here, just to make sure things work nicely. We're gonna grab, I believe, mine label visible equals false again, and set our mine progress equal to 0, 0, and else. Yep, mine progress equal to 0. So this whole little bit of like if statements over here, first check if you can actually mine something, in which case it tells you the cursor that you can mine it. And then if you press to mine it, it can keep doing this little bit of code here, where it increases in how much time you've been mining it. And if you ever let go your button during all that, it resets your progress, and it also turns off that label as telling you that you're currently mining. But if you reach the end of that mining, then it's going to have this little counter here to keep track of how many objects you spawned in. It's going to spawn all the objects based on the drops for that object. And then once it's done doing all those, that object can delete itself because it's been mined, and it can get rid of that variable and reset your progress and all that. And same sort of thing down here. If you're also no longer able to mine something, it's just going to reset your progress to 0, just in case something happened that made it so it didn't reset last time. So if we go to our main game, I'm going to go back to 3D, and let's go down. We should see our tree scene. Let's plop that somewhere. I'm in some roots, so let's just set it in the ground a bit. Let's go ahead and try playing. And let's go ahead and go up to our tree. We have that cursor. If you go to my, oh, let me see why it's being a little bit weird. Maybe I said some, oh, maybe it's, is it, oh, it's a mountain, sorry. Make sure those metadata things line up with each other. If you did a mounts like me, then make sure it's like that for both of them. So let's do that again real quick. There you go. And look, we have a little log. The cursor didn't reset. Oh, okay. The cursor will reset eventually. I forgot. I set it so it resets after it also does a pickup code. But at least now you have your little log down here. Oh, I haven't added in the code for pushing it, so you can't really push it quite yet. But you can mine your little object and it adds whatever drops you did. So let's say we go to our tree, and I don't know, what if we want like 5 log? Whoops, I did not mean to add that. Okay, go to your thing below size, like that 0 entry, and let's set that to like 5. Let's go to main game. And let's go ahead and mine that tree one more time. And there you go. And now you get a bunch of logs, and they all stack up on each other. But we need to add the code for picking up stuff. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and get started on that to see if our 9 minutes is really enough. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new scene called log. And did that work correctly for both of you?
Having some issues with one.
I haven't even finished the
For what?
I haven't finished the statement.
Oh, hang on. Let me go up there. Where do you need? So,
Just hold down. Yeah.
gotcha. Like, they're not necessary to make it like technically work, but it makes it a little bit more user friendly. So, what's your guy doing?
The lid
Oh.
will stay on.
Oh, I see one thing. You gotta turn it on visible. Turn that off.
Oh, right, we can right to save it, but,
Yeah.
and then I saw your cursor turn in red.
It should. If you click on it, does it also, okay, so your thing's just not protecting it. Let's go to your tree. And where did you add your group? You added your groups on both. Let's now double check on node for, let's go to this guy. Mineable. And it's a call to code up there. If you scroll up. It is. Should be getting the right letters. Could you do a print statement after is colliding the like output whatever you're colliding with?
That to be printed in console, it's just.
Yeah, just print, and then parentheses, and then grab that like get collider thing and just put it in there so we can see what's actually colliding with.
It's like the amount's supposed to be like right?
Yeah, the amount thing stuff is an array, so you got that, and then just go to pencil and set it to integer, and set it to however many logs you want. Oh, one thing, I think that's a texture you have over there.
There's
So, oh, there's an easier way, I think. Can I help you? I don't like. I think it already knows it's an object. It's just a matter of really how fast it is. Okay, that's just a folder, and just scroll. We should see a lot of the log. So scroll up a minute. It should be like the GLD of the log.
The broadcast is the screen.
strange color.
Of course, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, it looks fine there. It's just I don't know why it's just looking rather than the issue.
Why?
But
Yeah, 'cause that's.
let's see, maybe it works fine with the game itself. Oh, great, we need an actual tree. Should be near the bottom. Yeah. You'd also drag it anywhere on the map, like on the actual sphere, if you want to set it right into your just to make sure. Should be able to set it down a bit by using the which way should there you go.
It looks like it's facing the same.
Yeah, it should try. Should go facing.
Position, rotation, since it's zero. It looks like, judging by
Yeah.
that, it looks like it's.
Yeah, it looks like it.
So it's something.
Okay, the script is being applied to something it doesn't like. So. Oh, can you remove the script from that guy? Yeah, that needs to be on the player, not the, so you can see. So let's go to the main game. Right click on node 3, the new tap script. And try now, I think it just ended up with that script and should have it. So if you also go to play, it will save every time as well for you. Oh, let's change that button to a motion.
Yeah, the second one should be, first one should be two.
Oh, okay, actually, let's go change it in player first, we need to get it for,
Yeah, but just say adding references. See what it's been.
oh, okay, that's a different one, we're gonna ignore that script, that's a weird one. That's your player script itself, because, there you go. And then change, okay, you got mouse motion here, so let's drag that on if statement. You don't need the thing after it, just if statement itself. There you go, go to your camera script. And then plop that in front, like after your functions your player, and then indent that guy. And then hopefully, oh, wait, oh, okay, sorry, my bad. Actually, no, sorry. You can undo what you just did, that wasn't the wrong thing, that's in the input area, my bad. I was looking at the wrong thing with the mouse. Okay. Hopefully,
Yeah.
that is what we needed. But just, I don't know, maybe that's what I just gave you off the bat, because I know sometimes I can't always generally use script for like very basic stuff. So if you go ahead and, you can also click the retry thing, it's like that, yeah, that guy. Rotate. Should have rotate. Rotate should be inverted. That will Oh, change that from the, so your sensitivity. Okay, sometimes the vectors do, which doesn't make sense. Let me.
I would never actually define counters as a variable. So it's never actually declared, so I say.
All right, I'll go ahead back to the camera script. So that's how yours should look over there for your camera. So let's compare what.
Oh, I have like a negative sign.
It shouldn't necessarily cause an issue, because whatever it's doing is obviously a problem. But you also can get a simple map as well.
Yes. I have a
And then where you use it, do it 4 times J plus 1.
Oh, okay, yeah, that would explain this part.
4 times. Oh,
That's all right, thank
yeah.
you.
That should be the same counter. It should be counter itself, that should fix it, if it's not that.
This is, oh, do the same thing here, add a, actually, no, change it to an up, that is supposed to be up for that one. Add a dot X at the end of the bulletin. Actually, no, that one also gets in there. It's just like, those have to be different for how they're set up. So, now try.
Well, it's only happening once the.
Nice, okay, we have to just turn off the labels, but you at least can move around. We have to change your mining script real quick, because he's also having a similar problem.
Oh, I think it's
Oh,
at 0
sorry.
instead of that
I
line.
said amounts instead of amount.
Let me see, okay, yours is command Q. Actually, wait, don't copy these. Or it can be command carry as well, whichever, there's no one of those two things, that, so you can put yourself. So, let's go back to your player, and let's hide that, just click on the hide, so you're not seeing it all the time. And you can go to your player script and try to figure out what's going on with, your collision detection there, because you're just not detecting the tree or something. Well, it's gonna be fine. We also go back to our tree, make sure it's in the right group. And, oh, I see why. So this is, do that plus, to make it a group, called mineable, like you had in a script. Yep, then you okay. And let's go to main name again, try it. So I think that was just a small issue.
Yeah.
So let's see. And Okay, you tried something. I knew you were supposed to get something.
Thank you for your help.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I got my shit away and get something head out.
All right, let's get rid of it. I think that was just from that. No problem. And we go to tree, I think you just have to add down so this guy, the inspector, and.
See ya.
No, you can.
Bye.
See you guys. Should be getting that. You scroll through this. That's all, the new document is also the variables with. We're looking for, was it mine progress? Okay, let's keep track of your mine progress, so that part's fine. There's probably something about trying to get your mine into mine. So, let's go. Let's click on, let's look at this. I need to see if it has a space in it or if it's, just giving it some space. Okay, so that's fine. Let's go to your player script. Is it just something about trying to get that mine time as well?
What is it?
What we're doing with our game in terms of
Oh,
I guess.
Add another game here.
how it works, what we need and stuff. General
I don't know, that's why.
is what right now
Because
we're
yeah, your metadata is one more paragraph.
growing. Ocean.
Maybe, hopefully. I didn't
Yeah, I
know
remember
it was
all that.
changing, but hopefully I was just seeing things or something.
What else do we need? I mean, it's all about getting resources. So we'll have all this stuff.
Okay, that's a
We've got
little
our
more
own
stuff.
stuff to make it last, maybe.
Possibly.
I wonder why the cursor
Could also
is
look,
changing.
maybe have some combat in
With like the word enemies and resources from them.
it. Possibly.
So,
Well, actually, I don't know if we could. I don't know if either of us can model. Depends.
I have to learn, if I had time to learn Blender, maybe I'd try it, but I don't.
it should know what it is.
Player. I remember that 4 hour building before you mentioned earlier.
Mining
Yeah,
labels
and-
is.
Even after that, I still had no idea what it was doing.
Yeah, change your mining label to match what you have. When you start typing it, it should, there you go, it's the only one that doesn't have. Like, we should do for those two, that hopefully fixes those. And it could even be your issue with the color thing as well. Okay, so you have to texture rect, and is that how you have to find it there? Oh, no, can you go ahead and end the live streams in the
Oh.
browser?
Yeah, I got you. Industry.
I don't know.